I want to get to MSNBC. Joe Scarborough is obviously a conservative, but there's a lot of people on MSNBC pushing this kind of warmongering. And it's direct connection to why over half of Americans think Biden hasn't done enough. And frankly, I'm no Biden fan if you watch this channel, but I think he's done a lot. I don't even agree with everything he's done, but he has done a lot. But polling shows over half of Americans think he hasn't done enough. I wonder why. I wonder why they don't think he did enough. But Colin, let's play the first clip from Scarborough, which was actually from 5 or 6 days ago, because we're going to show one clip from Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe, the cocktail circuit. They've never known a war they don't love. And then we're going to show the evolution to 5 days later. Let's play clip number 1.
It's been a one-way street over the past 15, 20 years. People have been saying, oh, we've cornered Vladimir Putin time and time and time again. One administration, Mika, after another administration has tried to give Vladimir Putin the benefit of the doubt. George W. Bush talking about looking into his eyes, seeing into his soul, and he's a good guy and we can do business with him. You have the Obama administration talking about the reset. You have Barack Obama, who caught hell for whispering in a hot mic saying, hey, after the election, I can do more. You have Donald Trump, who basically tried to dismantle NATO for Vladimir Putin, who held up defensive weapons to the Ukrainians, trying to blackmail them, going to Helsinki, basically doing everything but completely capitulating, talking about actually undermining NATO every step of the way. The fears that if he got reelected again, it would be undermined again. Of course, this has caused major problems. At the same time, we have time and time and time again underestimated Vladimir Putin. So if there is anybody in the White House right now concerned that these sanctions may be too tough on a guy who is committing war crimes every day and every night in Ukraine, you know what? Wipe that dust off of your jacket, off of your shoulder. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Listen, I have been saying from the very beginning that we have to understand how Putin, how he looks at the world, that he feels like he's been hemmed in by NATO for years. We have to help Vladimir Putin get out of the corner. We have to work with him to provide an off-ramp. He doesn't want that. He wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. So what do? Do we not pick up the phone and call? No. We need to continue engaging actively and always be willing to work with him to get that off-ramp. But this idea that sanctions may be too tough on Vladimir, but please, if you're thinking that, do your country and do the Ukrainian people a favor. And you know what? Turn in your badge and leave the White House today, because you are doing a grave disservice to the people of Ukraine, to our allies in NATO, to Americans who still believe that this country, the United States of America, remains the indispensable nation when it comes to helping secure freedoms across the globe.
5, 6 days ago, talking about an off-ramp. Let's play the clip from today.
Started to see this weekend, Fred Kemp with the Atlantic Council. Many others are saying Biden and the West have done an admirable job. The economic sanctions are extraordinary. The flooding of weapons across the Polish-Ukrainian border, extraordinary. But now the war's moving to a new phase. Americans and Europeans are seeing war crimes committed on their television sets 24 hours a day. You saw in the West a couple of useful idiots starting to talk about Ukrainians having chemical weapons, which was a precursor to a Russian general saying that they had those weapons, which, of course, the intel community is rightly saying is going to be Russia's excuse to use chemical weapons. Does the Biden administration, forgive me, this is going to sound condescending, but it's too early for me to figure out any other way to say it. Does the Biden administration understand that when Americans and Europeans see 5-year-old children choked to death by Putin's chemical weapons, that we're going to have to go in? Do they understand that there is no holding back, that we're going to have to take a far more aggressive approach?
Administration officials, Joe, recognize that we're teetering on the edge of potentially a far more dangerous phase of this war.
So 5-6 days ago, off ramp, and to hell with you, White House people who actually care about the sanctions actually affecting people in the people of Russia. That's Joe Biden's Joe Scarborough doesn't care about that. So went from off ramp to, well, the intel community is saying Putin might use chemical weapons because we listen to the intel community 1000%. They're never wrong. They have no ulterior motive to float this. So does Biden understand if we start seeing images of a 5-year-old choking to death, we're going to have to go in? And you wonder, Colin, if we could show majority in the U.S. don't think Biden has acted forcefully enough versus Russia. This is a poll from CBS. More than half of Americans believe President Biden hasn't acted forcefully enough against Moscow for invading Ukraine and would support a no-fly zone over the war-torn nation, a poll showed Sunday. Americans, by 69%, believe that Russia will move to attack other European countries after Ukraine, while 31% think he'll stop with Ukraine. This CBS poll showed. If Russia attacks another NATO country, 72% of Americans favor a U.S. military response, while 27% oppose it, the survey found. Well, I could tell you from covering politics, most of these polls are skewed heavily towards older people. No disrespect to any older folks that are watching. It's more older people are polled, I would say 50 and up. And what kind of media do, for the most part, not all, for the most part, what kind of media do those older people, let's say 60 and up, consume? CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, New York Times, Washington Post, et cetera, who is floating chemical weapons, talking about 5-year-olds choking to death. And let's be clear, Vladimir Putin is a terrible person. Vladimir Putin, whatever you want to say, I have given caveats that Russia has had legitimate concerns about NATO expansion, but that does not condone an illegal war and killing innocent people. If you're anti-war, you're anti-war, period. And you shouldn't be defending Putin invading Ukraine, even if Russia has legitimate concerns. But this is only going to escalate. And by the way, if we could show Colin that tweet. So CBS YouGov asked Americans what they believe as far as a no-fly zone. They asked it 2 ways, and it's quite striking. So no-fly zone over Ukraine, 59% of Americans support it, 41% oppose it. But then when asked, do you support a no-fly zone if it's viewed as an act of war? 38% support, 62% oppose. You know what that tells me? And good on CBS and YouGov for actually asking it the other way. The media is not actually explaining to its viewers what a no-fly zone actually would cause, what it would be. Because if the United States does a no-fly zone, that is launching World War III. And I don't think that's too dramatic. So you don't really hear that when it's discussed on CNN, MSNBC, other major media, that a no-fly zone and then they shifted to, what about a partial no-fly zone? There's no such thing. If you start a no-fly zone over Russian airspace or Ukrainian airspace, that is going to be Putin's excuse. And then you are literally not poking the bear, but hitting the bear of a nuclear armed power. So, yeah, I got to say, the media, I was wrong. I didn't think Russia was going to invade Ukraine. A broken clock is right twice a day. The U.S. intelligence that said Russia was going to invade Ukraine in this case was right. That doesn't mean the U.S. intelligence and the CIA apparatus doesn't have incentive to further escalate this war. We know Biden's poll numbers are up. Frankly, we know the defense contractors are doing swimmingly well right now. And we know that CNN and MSNBC's ratings are way up after Donald Trump leaving the building has really hurt their ratings. So I got to say, it's not a small thing. Somebody said, Jordan, you're stretching. No, I don't think I'm stretching. It's not a small thing when very influential. And you might say, well, who watches MSNBC anymore? Well, a lot of older people do. A lot of voters do. A lot of liberals do. And when you have MSNBC's signature hosts in the morning, one of their most watched shows, floating out chemical weapons, saying, well, is Biden ready to go in? This is exactly what happened leading up to Iraq. Exactly. Weapons of mass destruction, floating that Saddam has them. He's prepared to use them, blah, 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 blah. Thanks for watching. And make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream, Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.